Every face hides a story. Behind quiet streets, warm homes, and familiar eyes lies something colder, crueler.
When the mask slips, when the truth comes out, we see what's hidden behind their veil of humanity. True stories, dark truths, just the facts, and what devastation is left behind.
Ask people to keep looking for Lacie because they're not looking for Lacie as much as they should be right now.
Let's talk about some of those suspicions, because there are a lot of suspicions out there. I think people want to know, first of all, why would you leave Lacie, who's 8.5 months pregnant, alone to go fishing on Christmas Eve?
Okay. Our day was planned for, Christmas Eve dinner at our mom's house. Preparations were all made. Gifts done. Lacie was simply going to be baking that day. And it's not uncommon for us to, simply, we have separate pursuits. She does not, play golf as I do, which was my other option for that day. And being, 7.5 months pregnant, she's not going to want to go out on a boat. But it's simply a leisure activity to pursue that day. And, it was what our plans were. It may not be everyone's choice to do things like that, but it's the way that our relationship works.
I know when I approached you on Amber Fry, and I told you that I would be reporting that you had a girlfriend.
Right.
Your response to me is that you had no comment either way.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you just come clean then?
Well, I'm glad you asked the question. It simply, wasn't appropriate to comment on it. And unfortunately, there has been a statement in the press that I denied it, which was made with another reporter when I characterized a National Enquirer article as a pack of lies. And I did so without reading the article, unfortunately. The article I thought to include, and I know also included a supposed life insurance policy, supposed blood evidence, and I forget what else, but also included the report of Amber. So I called it a pack of lies, not knowing that she was in there. So it's just not important to comment about that. And I'm glad that Amber came forward. You want me to turn that off?
Yeah, what is that?
That's my phone, unfortunately. I thought it was off. And I'll just answer that question again. Somewhere here. Yeah, it's kind of going crazy, isn't it? Okay.
What is up, my crime crazy people?
Welcome to Veil of Humanity with your host, Melonie Yelvington.
And Kimberly Taylor.
A beautiful young woman on the verge of motherhood, getting ready for Christmas and being with her wonderful husband, just vanishes on Christmas Eve. A husband with an unsuspecting mistress on the side and murder on his mind. So today we're bringing you the case of Laci Peterson and her unborn son, Connor.
So grab your favorite beverage and a pillow to scream into as we dive into this case.
Also, we are a fan of the Cursey words, and we will probably be dropping some. So,
Yes. And
sorry in advance.
sorry, Courtney. Also, just an FYI, we have our other little mascot named Neo kind of runs around in here, and you may hear his little tippy taps and pitter patter. So, sorry, but
He has no boundaries.
he has no boundaries. So we have trigger warnings in place, y'all. Of course, the topic of murder, pregnancy, fetal death, infidelity in marriage, death penalty, possible drownings, strangulation. Okay, Biss, you ready?
Yeah, this one's a tough one.
It is. On Christmas Eve, 2002, a young expectant mother named Laci Peterson vanished from her Modesto, California home. Her disappearance gripped the nation, sparking one of the most highly publicized investigations of the early 2000s. Cameras followed every twist, every heartbreaking discovery, and eventually the trial of her husband, Scott Peterson. But more than 20 years later, questions still linger. Was Scott truly guilty beyond all doubt? Or did the media frenzy and the court of public opinion write the ending before the trial even began? Today, we'll retrace the events of that winter, examine the evidence, the trial, and the fallout, and we'll also look at where Scott Peterson is now in 2025, after years of appeals and legal challenges. So this is another of those cases that spark controversy. I want to say that we are not here to debate if the death penalty should be an option, nor are we here to debate on our own personal beliefs. It's not something we're going to get into. I can tell you what we both speak for, but it's not going to be something we're going to debate about. So let the facts speak for themselves, and you make your own conclusion.
Mm-hmm. Do your own research.
Yes. So it was December 24th, 2002. Laci Peterson was 8 months pregnant with her first child, a boy. She and Scott planned to name Connor. That morning, Scott told investigators he left home to go fishing at the Berkeley Marina about 90 miles away. Which I call such bullshit on, but neighbors later reported seeing Laci walking the couple's golden retriever, Mackenzie. About 10:18 a.m., a neighbor found the dog wandering in front of the Peterson house with his leash on, but no sign of Laci. By that evening, when Laci still hadn't returned, her stepfather called the police. What began as a missing persons report quickly became a full-scale search operation.
Which is crazy.
Ready? Everybody ready? Okay. Your name, please.
Janie Peterson, Janey.
And your relationship?
Sister-in-law. I'll be reading a statement from the family. We want to sincerely thank our friends, family, community members, and the countless volunteers who have assisted our search to date to locate Laci. Your prayers and support have carried us through this difficult time and given us the strength to go on. Our family is committed and will remain focused on our search. Scott has our absolute and complete support, and we do not believe any speculation that he was involved in Laci's disappearance. From the beginning, Scott's number one priority has been the safe return of his wife and child, and that remains unchanged. He will be with us in Los Angeles, working with the family and volunteers. We are renewing our efforts by opening a one-day volunteer center here in Los Angeles and ask Southern Californians for their help. They can help us find Laci by posting flyers and posters in their neighborhoods, storefront windows, hotels, grocery stores, any high traffic areas. The flyer can be downloaded from www.lacipeterson.com, or they can be picked up at the Doubletree Hotel, 10740 Wilshire Boulevard, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. today. We will also be distributing DNA and fingerprint kits to assist families in making records of their own children as a protective measure. We thank every single person who has expressed their care and concern and ask for your continued support in praying for Laci's safe return.
At this point, they didn't know if she'd been kidnapped, if she was, trapped and fell in a hole somewhere. They didn't know what happened. They were thinking maybe someone had gotten her, just please let her come home safely. But almost immediately, Scott's demeanor drew suspicion. Which, by the way, this is what I said about the Chris Watts case, because he immediately drew suspicion when he went on TV.
Yeah.
While Laci's mother, Sharon, and other families appeared distraught, some reporters noted that Scott seemed oddly calm. But I'm sorry, but if your spouse is missing, you're going to be upset.
Yeah. If you care about that spouse.
If you care. There's the key word there.
Yeah.
In the early days, investigators searched tirelessly around Modesto, but the spotlight began to narrow on Scott. His alibi, fishing alone on Christmas Eve really raised eyebrows. It makes me roll my eyes because I'm just like, really? Sir?
But didn't it change too from golfing or something as well?
Yeah, he was going to go golfing at first, and then it changed, and all of a sudden, this boat that no one knows about that he has stored.
And weren't we looking up currents and stuff and which way they're going?
Exactly.
Weird.
Little suspicious.
Strange.
Why would a man spend the holiday at the marina and not at home with his pregnant wife? I would be furious.
Because we know where his priorities are.
Yep. Detectives also began uncovering troubling details. Just weeks before her disappearance, Scott started a relationship with another woman, Amber Frey, a massage therapist from Fresno. Amber didn't know Scott was married, let alone expecting a child. She had no clue. She thought that they were just going to run off together and be together, and she had no clue what this man really was.
Yeah.
When investigators told her the truth, she agreed to cooperate. She began recording her phone calls with Scott, and those calls became central to the prosecution's case later on.
Because she caught him in so many more lies.
Yes, she did.
First of all, I want to thank you for your patience. We'd like to preface the news conference by requesting that you respect our willingness to inform the media to limited information that does not compromise the investigation. Ms. Amber Frey will make a brief statement and she will not answer any questions. Today, because of extensive efforts by some members of the media, Amber Frey was identified and contacted by reporters at her place of business. She notified the Modesto police and out of contact and her safety and privacy, she is prepared to give a statement and she will not accept any questions. Ms. Amber Frey.
Okay, first of all, I met Scott Peterson November 20th, 2002. I was introduced to him. I was told he was unmarried. Scott told me he was not married. We did have a romantic relationship. When I discovered he was involved in the Laci Peterson disappearance case, I immediately contacted the Modesto Police Department. Although I could have sold the photos of Scott and I to tabloids, I knew this was not the right thing to do. For fear of jeopardizing the case or the police investigation, I will not comment further. I am very sorry for Lacey's family and the pain that this has caused them. And I pray for her safe return as well. I would appreciate to my friends and acquaintances to refrain from talking about me to the media for profit or recognition. I am a single mother of a 23-month-old child, and I ask to respect my privacy. Thank you.
As weeks passed, public suspicion of Scott intensified. Media outlets swarmed the Peterson home. By April of 2003, everybody's worst fears were realized. Bodies were discovered along the San Francisco Bay shoreline, near where Scott claimed he had been fishing. They were identified as Lacie and her unborn son Connor. At that
So they
moment,
were found at the same time, were they? They weren't found at the same time, right?
they were not. No,
Wasn't it just like a day apart or something?
day apart, but I believe she was found first. and
Can
then
you
the baby.
imagine being in the water and just expelling your baby?
No. I can't imagine just being on dry land, and it's horrific.
That is just...
She was 9 months.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But any day now. She was in the any day now territory.
Yep. She was ready.
Yeah.
At this point, everyone's grief quickly turned into outrage, and prosecutors charged Scott Peterson with double homicide.
Good.
His trial began in June of 2004 in Redwood City, California. It became a complete media circus, with comparisons to the O.J. Simpson trial.
I remember that too.
I do too. Every detail was broadcast live, dissected on talk shows, and splashed across tabloids. The prosecution painted Scott as a man living a double life. They argued he wanted out of his marriage, out of fatherhood, and into a new life with Amber.
And this just makes no sense to me.
Why not just divorce? That was my same questions in the Chris Watts case and all these other cases where the men kill their families. Why not just divorce?
How is that? But how do you come to a conclusion that is
The
best?
answer?
Yeah, the best option you have.
I don't understand it. And I guess because I don't think like,
The killer.
a killer, but I don't understand. How do you get to that conclusion?
It's crazy.
Divorce. Just get a divorce, please. Murder is not the answer.
Yeah, it's really not.
It's not.
It never turns out well.
No.
Ever.
For anybody.
Ever.
So they pointed to his lies, his lack of emotion, his strange behavior after Lacey's disappearance, including the dyeing of his hair blonde, which, by the way, was early 2000s trend.
And wasn't he selling her? Would she have a Range Rover or something? Wasn't he?
He was trying to get rid of everything.
Already. Like,
Yeah.
You gonna wait for her to come back home?
Yeah. No. He knew. He knew at that point.
Yeah.
Cops knew at that point too. When he's starting to sell everything, he was carrying thousands of dollars in cash when he was arrested.
Because he was about to bail.
He's fixing to run to Mexico. The defense, though, they countered there was no forensic evidence tying Scott to the murder, no blood in the house, no weapon, no direct witness. They argued he was convicted on character, not proof. Which, again, because it was so media, sensationalized, did the media have a play into how this trial turned out? Is he, and this is just me asking questions, this is not my opinion, because personally I do think he's guilty. I think he should have kept with the death penalty, but that is my personal opinion. Was it all media related, and they just pushed through because the jury, they saw everything, right?
The jury saw everything. So still at the end of the day, we have to leave it in their hands for them to get it right, no matter what the media reports.
Yeah. So even months and months after testimony, the jury deliberated for just 7 days, which is a good amount of time.
That's a long time.
November 12th, 2004, Scott Peterson was found guilty of first-degree murder of Lacie and second-degree murder of Connor. 1 month later, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection.
We, the jury in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Scott Lee Peterson, guilty of the crime of murder.
He was sent to San Quentin State Prison, where he lived on death row. But this case, unfortunately, far from over. For years, his legal team filed appeal after appeal, claiming juror misconduct, media bias, and lack of hard evidence. In 2020, nearly 2 decades after the conviction, the California Supreme Court overturned his death sentence, citing errors in jury selection. However, the court upheld the conviction itself. By 2022, a judge had resentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
He's saying he's guilty.
An issue with the original jury selection prompted the California Supreme Court to reverse Peterson's death sentence last year. On Wednesday, the judge ordered him to serve life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of Lacie and a concurrent sentence of 15 years to life for the murder of his unborn son, Connor.
Meanwhile, all these new questions have kind of come up. They're like, did a juror lie about her background to get on the case? Were leads about possible burglars in the neighborhood dismissed too quickly? Did the claims, these claims just fueled fresh debates. And it's still a debate to this day.
Yep.
But as of today, every new hearing has ended the same way. Scott remains guilty in the eyes of the court.
Which pleases me.
I think he's right where he should be, but again...
Me too. I mean, no, they're right. It doesn't... Just because he's morally corrupt doesn't make him a murderer, but that's what any good defense team's going to hurry up and start putting out there.
Yes. All the evidence and the way he acted, I'm sorry, it all shows that he's guilty.
Yeah.
As of 2025, Scott is serving his life sentence at Mule Creek State Prison in California. He's now 52 years old. Recent hearings have focused on whether alleged juror misconduct during his 2004 trial could warrant a retrial. In December of 2022, a judge ruled against him, finding that while a juror had failed to disclose some personal history, it did not amount to misconduct that compromised the fairness of the trial. To this day, Scott continues to maintain his innocence. His attorneys are still pursuing appeals, though the chances of a new trial grow kind of slimmer and slimmer with every denial.
Yeah.
Outside of prison, the Peterson family remains divided. Lacie's mother, Sharon, has remained steadfast in her belief that justice was served, but some supporters argue Scott was wrongfully convicted by a system overwhelmed with media pressure. For the families of Lacie and Connor, however, the pain has never eased. Lacie would have turned 50 this year. Connor would be a young man in his 20s, and their absence is felt every single day. The story of Laci Peterson is one that captured a nation. Love, betrayal, tragedy, and a trial that tested the limits of truth in the face of overwhelming media attention. Nearly 23 years later, the questions remain. Did Scott Peterson truly murder his wife and unborn son? Or did the tidal wave of public opinion seal his fate before he even set foot in court? What we do know is this. Lacie and Connor's lives were cut short. Their loss continues to echo today. Okay, y'all. Woosah. Breathe it out. That is a pretty heavy case, and it brings up a lot of emotions, it brings up a lot of controversies, a lot of debate.
Can you imagine, though? Just, I don't know, baby being in the womb and then never even gets to come out.
No.
Because of its dad.
Because of a father that should have been a father, but wasn't even a real man. This has always been one of those that makes me very angry, and it makes me cry at the same time. And it's an awful case.
Yeah.
I want to thank y'all for listening. Join us next week as we bring you a brand new case that is swirling in our heads. Alright, my crime crazy people, we will be back next week with a brand new episode. To see all of our source material, please consult the show notes. Don't forget to click that subscribe, follow button, and catch us on our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Veil of Humanity Podcast. Also, if you have any questions, you want to provide feedback, or you even have a case suggestion, please send us an email at veilofhumanity@gmail.com. Hosted by Kimberly Taylor and Melonie Yelvington. Produced, edited by Courtney Santos. Music is Phoenix by Luke Joe. A Bronx Bay production. Okay, Bronx, tell everyone we will see them again next week.